Today we're going to talk about why you don't have a deal yet. And this is going to be half presentation, half working session. So everybody, I want everybody to find a pen at some point because I'm going to ask you to start writing stuff down as you go through this presentation. Because the thing that I am saddened by is the fact that I see a lot of great people that come in, they're excited about real estate, and then they drop out a few months later or even maybe a year later just because they didn't know the steps to take on how to find a deal. My cousin, I don't know if she's watching, but my cousin is at the stage right now where she's just coming in, she's learning, she's excited, and she comes up to me all the time. She goes, Darren, I love it. I want to do mobile homes just like you. What do I do next? What's next? And so I tell her, I said, okay, well, do this, this, and this. Okay. And then she comes to me again. What's next, right? And if you guys have been doing this for any amount of time, then you know that's something we all go through. What's next? I don't know. And so we're going to talk about what you need to do in order to get a deal, okay? So pull out your pen and use the worksheet in front of you. Let me get one. And I want you to write down, and be honest, I'm not going to ask you to say your number out loud. This is just for self-reflection. This is not for embarrassment. I want you to write down the number of seller conversations you've had within the last week. How many sellers you've talked to in the last week. And then below that, I want you to list how many offers you've made in the last month. How many offers have you made in the last month? It could be verbal, could be written, could be subconscious. No, just kidding. Those don't count. And then the last one is, how many deals have you closed in the last 12 months? Take some time to think about it. How many deals have you closed in the last 12 months? And by the way, what does a deal look like to you? It could be different. If you're a lender, does that mean making a loan? It could be something making a loan. If you're a flipper like myself, maybe a deal is getting a seller to say yes. Not just flipping, no. The whole point of this is activity, right? The thing that we're focused on is just activity. So how many seller conversations you had? So if you're a lender, then instead of seller, it could be borrower. How many borrower conversations you had? Yes. Okay, the question is, would that include talking to mobile home managers? I would say yes. Yeah, I would say yes, because when you're talking to mobile home managers, you're opening yourself up to 180, 200 possible sellers. And then how many offers have you made in the last month? And then how many deals have you closed in the last 12 months? Okay, so I'm not going to ask for anybody to raise their hand. I'm not going to ask. And by the way, change seller to borrower, change seller to lender, change seller to whatever your business is. Seller I use just because, we're looking at really from a flipping point of view, but that could be anything. Now, if you look down your number, are you happy with your number? Not happy with your number, okay? Is anybody happy with their number? I want somebody who says, you know what? I'm trying really hard. So I see a lot of people in the room that are nodding their head saying they're not happy with their number. So today we're going to talk about what does it take to actually get a deal, and what number do you need to increase in order to get that yes. Okay, so this is a little bit more of a serious conversation. That's why I put like kind of fun, sketchy looking stuff to offset it. I don't think it's working. But anyway, so today you're going to learn a few things. We're going to talk about why aren't I getting more deals? How many conversations does it actually take to get a deal? Where is my bottleneck? By the way, this is just a normal business thing that we're talking about. So even if you're not a flipper, even if you're not someone who does this, any type of business that requires getting a yes from somebody has some sort of a funnel system that we're going to talk about, okay? And then what should I focus on during the next 24 hours? We're going to come back to that, so keep that in mind. What should I focus on during the next 24 hours? Okay? So again, this is just things to think about. Okay, so I'm raising my hand because I've said this. There aren't many deals right now. Ever said this? The economy's bad, the market's slow. There's just not that many deals right now. Anyone ever said that? You guys are all better than me, huh? You guys think you're better than me. Look at you. I can see it. I see your faces. Just because I'm 53. Okay, and then how many people have talked to 10 sellers in the last 30 days? Talked to 10 sellers in the last 30 days. Again, that sellers could be borrowers. That could be maybe, in Ryan's case, Ryan is managing 127 units. He's getting them renovated and fixed up. So maybe you talk to 10 of his tenants or 10 people in that scenario. So 10 people that are in the direct line of fire of what you do. Okay? So I didn't see a lot of people for that one. So again, a lot of this has to go back to activity. We're not looking at success as far as getting a deal. We're looking at success as if you have enough conversations with enough people, then getting a deal is the inevitable conclusion. We're not chasing the deal, we're chasing the conversations. Because the conversation is something you have control over. A deal isn't. But if you keep putting your chips on black over and over again, eventually it's going to hit. You know what I mean? Even if it doesn't hit every time. Okay, so today we're going to talk about, I read this book about dating. When I was 26 years old, I was sitting in my car. I was single. I didn't know how to date, so I bought a book on dating. I was like, hey, let's try that. And so I read a book about dating, right? And it was actually a very enlightening book for not just dating, but for my entire life, right? And so the book went like this. It was a girl who was turning 30, and she was at dinner, and she was saying, I haven't met the one yet, right? And she said, I guess it's just not my time to get married. I guess it's just not in the cards for me to get married now. And then someone else was at the table, and he said, why do you say that it's just not your time? And she said, well, because Mr. Right hasn't walked into the door and proposed to me yet. And he asked, okay, well, how many new people have you met in the last week? She said, well, I just go home. I just go to work, and then I come home. And then I go to church on Sundays, and I just sit with my group, and then I go home. And I go to the grocery store, I come home. He goes, okay, so the number is? And she goes, 0. He goes, okay, well, how many people have you met in the last month? She said, well, 0. I just hang out with my friends. And he said, okay, so if you meet 0 people a month, unless you fall in love with the Amazon driver who brings your packages, how could you possibly find the one? And the book describes it as a light bulb went off in her head, where she goes, he's right. How could I ever find Mr. Right if I don't bother to get up off the couch, right? So I think we all understand that, right? But to me, actually, that was a revelation. Me sitting in my car, I was working at IHP, I had a suit and tie on. And I was going, oh my gosh, I meet 0 people a month, and I'm whining that I don't have a girlfriend. Like, this is exactly what I needed to hear, right? And so since then, whenever I was thinking, oh, how come this hasn't happened in my life, I changed my thinking to say, how much of my time have I put into this to make this happen? Have I invested time to make this happen, right? So we're going to look at 2 people. One is me at 26, and it says, person A, he waits for the phone to ring. He checks his messages again. He talks to one new person a month. He says, when people ask, how's your dating life going? He goes, I'm working on it. It is what it is. And then he spends his time reorganizing his closet, right? Person B, he talks to 5 new singles every week. He goes to every meetup. He has awkward conversations even if they're awkward. He asks for a second date even when he's nervous. And he follows up. Who do you think is more likely to find a wife? B, right? So I think that when it comes to dating, I think this is a very understandable, very thing. For me, by the way, I thought that the right person would just walk into my life, and I would just be laying on my couch, and she would knock on my door, right? That was my thought, is if it's the one, she'll knock on the door. I'll probably pause my video game, and I'll go, who is it? Oh, it's my wife. Okay, come in. It's dirty over here, but just stay in the kitchen. I'll come get you, right? So when it comes to dating, I think we all understand that you're not going to meet Mr. Right or Mrs. Right unless you go out and do something, right? So now let's change this a little bit from the dating exercise to the deal exercise, right? So person A is, when it comes to trying to find a deal, he waits for the phone to ring. He checks Zillow again. He talks to 1 seller a month. When people say, hey, how's it going working on your first deal? He says, I'm working on it. And he spends his time reorganizing his spreadsheet. Okay. Now, what does person B do? He talks to 5 new sellers every week. He goes to every meetup. He has awkward conversations. He asks for the deal, even when he's nervous, and he follows up. This is the exact same thing as dating. Getting a date and getting a deal is the exact same thing. In fact, when you talk to the sellers, a lot of it is dating. A lot of times people say yes to you because they like you, not necessarily because you offer the best price. And I know that to be firsthand many times for my account. So people have to like you to say yes. And I think that's extremely true in real estate too, is that people will like you, they'll want to say yes to you. So who's more likely to get the deal, right? It's person B, right? Okay, so again, this might be a little bit uncomfortable. So again, I appreciate you guys going on the ride with me. So dating funnel, this is really just going to drive the point home. But you meet people, have conversations, go on dates, get in a relationship, get married. Hopefully you don't do this multiple times, but you get married once. And then the real estate funnel is the same way. You meet sellers, you have conversations, you set appointments, you make offers, you get a deal, right? Appointments are just dates, offers a proposal, a deal is marriage, right? But everything else is basically the same. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how many seller conversations. Think about in your own life. Do you think that it would take to get How many seller conversations does it take to get one deal? And again, if you're a lender, then think conversations with borrowers. If you're putting out marketing materials, how much money does it take to get a deal? Let's just say if I spend $5,000 on Google Ads, then I'll get one deal. If you don't know your number, then maybe you haven't done enough deals yet, or maybe you're like me and you weren't really tracking it. But I think this is important to know because you can track your progress to your next deal just based on the law of averages. Okay, so I want everybody to write down under what do you think. So we'll take 30 seconds. How many seller conversations do you think to get one deal? All right, I think I see it. Most people stopped. Okay, so anybody have any numbers? By the way, you can share your number. There's no right or wrong answer to this. Ricardo? 100 conversations.
It's face-to-face, 30, if it's phone call,
100 over phone, 30 over face-to-face. Anybody else have anything to offer on that? 80? Okay. Takes a lot of conversations, right? So here's my numbers. Mine's 42. It says 40, but I think it's actually 42. It takes about 42 calls for me to get a yes. And that's because for every 40 calls that I get about a 20% conversion rate to get an appointment, right? So I get a lot of calls. A lot of times the calls are not either the mobile home is a single wide from the 60s and they want full price for it. I'm like, all right, man, good luck. Or maybe they again, they're calling just for advice, or they're calling because they think that I'm selling a mobile home. I don't know. People think interesting things. But it takes about 40. By the way, this is inbound calls. So if I made outbound calls, this number would be way, way higher. My percentage would be in the single digits. But these are inbound calls. So are inbound calls going to have a higher conversion rate or a lower conversion rate? Why higher conversion rate? Because they already have interest, right? They're calling you, right? So this is my number. So it takes for 40 calls to generate 8 appointments. Within 8 appointments, I make 5 offers. The other 3 offers, sometimes I just tell them, I said, just sell this yourself. Because I asked them, I said, do you need money? Are you hurting for money? No. Are you hurting for time? No. I said, then just sell it yourself. You don't need me. And the others, I'll make 5 offers. And then it takes me about 5 hours to get one deal. These are pretty close to what it takes for me. So 40 conversations to get one deal. Yes? Okay, so Mike's asking, do I make offers in person or do I make offers online? So I found that my best success rate is if I make an offer in person. Because people get to know you. They get to see that you're not just a number on a screen. So people tend to do a lot better, especially if you're strangers. Yes?
when you say 40 in calls, is that through advertising?
Yeah, so these calls come from me advertising. So I didn't make a slide for it, but I advertise using Google. I do pay-per-click, PPC. It's expensive. It's pretty darn expensive, actually. I pay about someone asked me earlier, I think about $4,000 a month, something like that. So that's not the way I would recommend for someone new to get started. Once you get to the point where your own time is worth more than just knocking on a door one at a time, then I would say move into that space. But yeah, that's what I do. So $4,000, how much am I spending a year? At $4,000 a month. 48,000, right? And I pay a guy to manage it all for me. I pay him 10,000. So how much am I paying a year? So I pay about, let's say, $60,000 a year, right? So I make about $30,000 per flip is my profit. So how many flips do I need to get? Yeses do I need to get before it pays for itself? So that's the way I see it. 60,000 is a lot of money, but the way I see it is like, if I get 2 flips a year from it, it pays for itself. If I get 3, then I'm ahead. That's the way I look at it. So from my Google advertising, I probably get about 5 deals a year, something like that. 5 deals a year, yeah, something like that. So again, 2 pay for it, 2 pay for the advertising, and then 3 goes in my own pocket. Okay, so that's my personal funnel. Okay, so now I want you to look at the next one, which it says to look at your numbers. Which say, again, this is all a little bit of soft. These are soft numbers. I'm not expecting you guys to whip out a spreadsheet and start analyzing it, but I want you to see how many, about just in your own personal anecdotal life, how many conversations does it take for you to get an appointment? So I want you guys to write down a number. Okay, the next one is, how many appointments does it take for you to get one offer? Do you offer on every appointment? Is it one appointment, one offer? Is it every 2 appointments you make an offer? Half the appointments you go to, you make an offer? The offer could be verbal, doesn't have to be written. And again, tailor this to your business. I made it tailored to mine, but cross them out sellers and put lenders or borrowers or whatever your business is. How many offers do you make before you get one deal? So write that number down next. And then lastly, multiply all those numbers together and then tell me what it says. That's the last one. Conversations for one deal. Should be multiply. Yeah. So multiply those numbers together. What do you guys get? I'm interested. Mine's 42, but when I do outbound leads, that could be easily doubled, if not tripled. So there's no wrong answer here. I'm interested. What kind of numbers are you guys getting? Multiply the first 3 numbers. Multiply all 3 numbers.
To each other.
Hmm?
So 5,000.
5,000? Wait, can you? So you got so Ricardo said 50. So Mary, can you walk me through it? So how many conversations for one appointment, if you don't mind? 100 conversations to get one appointment. Okay. And then how many appointments does it take to get one offer?
Appointments to one offer, so that's 500 right there. And then 10 offers to one deal, so that's 5,000.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that is 5,000. I mean the math is correct. The math is correct. I mean, so we're gonna go into that. Is it good or is it bad next? We're gonna go into that. Okay, so I heard 50. Anything? What else? If you don't have enough data for this, that's okay too. That just means you're at the start and you're still working on that. Okay, so anyways, but Ricardo got 50. Ricardo's been doing this for 4 years now, Ricardo? 5 years? And I've been doing it just about the same time, maybe a little bit longer. So mine is 42, his is 50. So we could use this as a benchmark. For those who haven't done maybe enough deals yet to start tabulating all this stuff, I think that's a good starting point. 40 to 50, maybe when you're new, 60 conversations, right? How many people, if your life depended on, how many sellers do you think you could talk to in a day? If your life depended on it.
I would talk to 1,000.
1,000. Oh, maybe that's the wrong phrasing. Okay. So how many sellers? Let me say, how long does it take to talk to 60 sellers? Let's just put it that way. 60 sellers. Let's just say
24 hours.
24 hours. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. Ricardo's a hustler. Okay. What do you think? There's no wrong answer here.
Like dial them, or like we're getting them on the phone and speaking to them?
Or knocking on their door.
Oh, okay.
Or sending them out a mailer.
4 hours.
4 hours. Okay. 4 hours. So 4 hours to talk to 60 sellers. So if I told you that if you talk to 60 people, you get one deal, would you guys dial 60 people? I don't know.